What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing a fun review. We're going to be talking about the new Inforce APLc, the new mini light that they've made for the Glock 19. First couple things I want to say is, number one, this is my first Inforce light, so this will be my first experience with this company, so I'm pretty excited about it. The second thing I want to say is that I'm probably going to be comparing it quite a bit to the Surefire XC1 that you see here, because they're very similar size, weight, and output, and they're made both specifically for the Glock 19 in mind, although both of them can be obviously mounted on different platforms. I also have an XC1 mounted on an AR-15, as you see right here, as an example, that both of them could be easily mounted on rifles as well. Now, why would you want to buy this light? Well, first you'd buy it for concealed carry. That would be number one. I just can't imagine a better light than either of these two for concealed carry. I've got some Surefire X300, for example, on the table here. And I've got the regular X300, and I've got a Streamlight TLR1 and TLR3 running around here too, but I couldn't find them for this review, and I figured this would be good enough to show you just the size difference in the light. Now, this light right here is about 1.8 ounces. This light right here is like 1.5 with batteries. So it's a good 2.5 ounces lighter than the X300 that you see here. You're also gonna lose a lot of output. We'll talk about that in a second. But for a concealed carry situation, for example, like being on a pistol, the length does matter, and if you're carrying a Glock 19, especially appendix, you don't want this big X300 sitting out here, which is the niche that these two lights are fitting in right now. First, I'm going to give you a few stats on the light, and then I'm going to talk about my experiences that I've had so far. I've had this for about a month now, and I've been testing it pretty good because I've enjoyed it, and I've had it on a couple of guns that I really enjoyed, so I've had plenty of time in putting rounds down range. First, it has a momentary and a constant on. So your momentary is going to be press in and hold. And then when you release, it just lets off. Again, press in and hold. And it just lets off. And your constant is just going to click and it stays on as long as you want it on. It also has two tabs here, as you can see, which really helps, especially if you have it on a pistol and you want to hit the momentary or constant on with only one hand. You're only operating with one hand. It's nice to have it on both sides. Also, if you go with your weekend shoulder on a rifle, it's super easy to hit this tab. These tabs are also stippled, and like I said, they're very easy to hit, very easy to use, much easier to use than the Surefire XC1, and honestly, even a little bit easier than the X300. It has 200 lumens, same as the XC1, but I can tell you from experience, and I can show you in the video, that lumens are not created equal. Bring the X300 Ultra back into play. This has significantly more lumens. If you're looking to just murder somebody with light, and you're looking to make them just surrender with a huge beam of light, this is what you're looking for as far as a pistol light goes. Both of these are significantly weaker. I want to say this is 600 lumens, if my memory corrects, and the throw is pretty ridiculous. I can easily hit up to 120 yards with this light. These two will not go quite that far, about 75 yards for this one and about 50 yards for the XC1. Now, even though they both have 200 lumens, this is more of a splash as far as the light goes, and this is more of a hotspot, and I actually prefer the Inforce for that. The runtime on these is about an hour, hour and a half. This is supposed to be an hour, this is supposed to be an hour and a half. However, I can say that this is an hour and a half, and this is like zero, considering this crossbolt safety thing. If you guys have seen my Surefire XC1 problems and fails video, I really do like this light, and I've owned several. However, the big downside of this light is this crossbolt constant on. I don't know if it's just me, it's just me talking about it, or if it's I'm the only person it's happening to, but I hit this constantly, and this is always on, and every time I take my light out at night to check for coyotes or do what I'm gonna do, this is always dead. So it doesn't matter to me how durable this light is, as long as it's always dead. That has not happened to me with the new Inforce APLc. As far as weight, as I said before, this is about 1.8 ounces, this is about 1.5. I think the weight personally is negligible. Let's talk about the mounting real quick. As you can see here, the XC1 has just a flathead screw, but it is captured. So you just unscrew that bad boy. At least I think it's captured. I've never had it fall out regardless. And you just unscrew that bad boy and slide it off, and slide it back on. Nothing really to lose, however you do have to use a screwdriver. That's kind of a pain in the ass. Compare it to the X300 here really quick, which I believe is the most superior mount of the three. You just pull these little tabs down, slide on, release, and it holds there. No screwdriver necessary to mar up your gun if you care about that kind of thing. Also, you may not have a screwdriver at the end of a bullet on you to take it off when you want to take it off, or put it on when you want to put it back on. So this system is pretty nice. Now, the APLc, as you can see on the table here, has a little screw right there, a little flathead screw, and it is not captured. That's a problem that I have with this light, especially if you're going to be mounting it on and off of different handguns and rifles. Let's say this is your only light. That's kind of an issue for me, but an issue easily overcome. You just have to be careful and not lose that screw. So I'm going to pop this off real quick, and I'll take it and put it on another pistol. I'm sure this will be easy to do on camera with my left hand. So that just pops out like that. Relatively easy, relatively simple, idiot proof. If I can do it, you can, trust me. We'll get this rifle out of the way. And we'll put it on the CZP07. Now, as you can see there, pretty much identical rail dimensions to the Glock 19, so it should fit exactly the same, and from my experience it does. One problem that I've had with the APLc mounting it, however, is you have to push it down and be careful how far down you push it, because you can actually push it a little too far, then you got to slide it back up. Now, even though this cross bolt screw here holds it in, the friction fit on the light, as far as it holds onto the rail, is actually very tight, which I actually really do like. You know, it's just another measure of protection for your light falling off in a string of fire, which has happened to me several times. If you shoot at night, make sure to Loctite your light, or you might lose it in the grass. Goddamn Surefire fell off. Now, another thing I really like about the APL, while we're talking about it and why we're mounting this thing in, is that it doesn't get all crazy cockeyed like the Surefire XC1 does. If you mount this to a PPQ or something that has a plastic rail to it, the Surefire XC1 has a tendency to get all crazy with you and kind of bow in. And the way to fix that is I've just been taking some grip tape and stuffing it in there, because what it does is it has a little mounting block here that pushes up on that. So these rails come in, and then this tightens and tightens and tightens, so it eventually pushes the light and cants it upward. You can even see a little bit of that going on in the Glock, and this is the gun that it was designed for. With the APLc, you will not find that to be an issue. Alright, so now that we're turning that screw the right direction instead of the wrong direction while I was talking, apparently I can't do two things at once. Chewing bubblegum and walking is an issue. Now you can give a good comparison, a good size comparison rather, to the Surefire XC1. As you see there, this one is a little bit bigger. You can see it does hang down just a little bit further, if I can get that on camera. There's just a little bit more, but honestly it's in a spot that doesn't really matter. I mean, to me, the dimension underneath that doesn't really matter that much. It's not gonna, especially if you're right-handed, you're wearing appendix, it's not gonna get any closer to something you don't wanna hit. So that's really no big deal. It might rub on your leg just a little bit more. I don't know, I haven't carried the APLc in appendix, but for me, inside the waistband at 3, 4, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, wherever you wanna carry, it's not gonna be much of an issue, especially outside the waistband carry, which is how I usually carry this gun. Now you can see that there's a much bigger difference in bezel diameter there if you look at that, and you can also get a better idea of the size difference between the two, although again I think it doesn't really matter that much. I would prefer the bigger output of the APLc over the slimmer size dimensions of the XC1, just simply because I don't believe this dimension matters. Now, the website also says the APLc is made of glass reinforced polymer, whereas I believe the XC1 is made from some type of aluminum. I didn't look it up, but it obviously is metal, and this is obviously plastic. Now, if you were going to be throwing this off a bridge or beating this with a hammer, I would be willing to bet that this will fail in a durability test compared to this. Now for everyday use, and I will test that, I'll probably put, at least 5,000 rounds down it this year and probably do a 1-year review as far as durability on this light goes, because that's really the only way you can test it. You see a lot of those ridiculous tests where they throw it off the roof of their house or something. I don't know if you're really going to be doing that in real life. So for me, as far as durability goes, this is good for what I use it for. Now you have to remember what I'm going to use it for is going to be home defense, number one. I'll probably put it on my home defense pistol, which this just so happens to be right now. And number two, I use it as a gun when I go out at night to look for coyotes and other critters and things like that, which is also, this is generally the gun that I take with me, or that rifle that was just on there. That's why it was on that rifle. And I prefer this over this when I do that. Number one, I live in the country, and I like that bigger field of view that you have with this with the APLC. You can just see much further, and it seems like a brighter picture to me, at least in person. I don't know how it comes off on the camera. Whereas the XC1, again, even though it would pass a hammer test as far as durability goes, I just cannot get over the fact that the damn battery is always dead. I mean, I love this light when it came out, especially over something like an X3 or an X300 or a Surefire Scout or something like that, just simply because of its small size and weight. It was the only thing on the market that had this size. However, now that another light has come to market that is much easier to use, I'm telling you, even the paddles are much easier to use and operate on the Inforce. If you shoot these back to back and you're using this for night operations, whatever you want to call it, me basically shooting in my yard at night, this is just much easier to turn on and off, much easier to use one-handed. It has better battery life, at least for usable battery life, because of this crossbolt thingy here, and it's just overall, to me, a better light. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to say that, because I am such a big Surefire fanboy. I mean, there's a reason why there's 20, 30 Surefire lights on the table that you see here. Even on my rifles, you've seen them in my videos, but I gotta tell you, as far as mini lights go, I really think the Inforce has knocked it out of the park here. Now, I could be wrong in that as well. I could do a year review on this and come back and say, hey, I shot 1,000 rounds out of this light and it just started failing. I sent it to Inforce, they didn't fix it. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I'm saying it could happen. So when you watch reviews of a new product like this, always remember that we only have a certain amount of time to review a product. And in that amount of time, we try to get the best assessment that we can, but there's no substitute for prolonged shooting and prolonged experience with something like this. Another thing I want to talk about really quick, if this is important to you, again, because I used it for home defense or hunting coyotes or something like that, negligent discharges of a light isn't really that important to me. If you are a tactical guy, if you're a guy that's in law enforcement or the military or something like that, that might be super important to you. And in that case, the smaller paddles of the Surefire X300 or XC1 might be a lot more beneficial to you. If you're hunting a bad guy and he's armed and you light off your light by accident in a nighttime situation, that really could be the end of you. That's something that I really don't have to worry about that much. So the bigger, more easy to use paddles of the APLC is a benefit. However, if you're worried about negligent discharges of a light, that might be a con for you, and that might be something you're gonna have to consider. Another thing you might want to consider is price. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous video, but you're looking at about $120, at least I found that for an Optics Planet, and this is about $200. That was the cheapest price I found was eBay, and this, I think, I don't remember, I bought it for around $250. I don't know if it's still $250, but the APLC is definitely going to be the cheaper option. Now, again, you're going to definitely lose some durability in that as well. All in all, I think if you were looking for a barely there pistol light, I would really go for one of these two, in all honesty. I think that the APLC currently can do everything that the Surefire XC1 can, but it does it a little bit better. Now again, if you're gonna carry it all day long and you're gonna be dropping your gun and do all kinds of durability issues, and maybe you take some super glue and you glue this constant on thing here, which I've thought about doing a couple of times, but I don't like void the warranty or anything like that. If you're gonna do that, then maybe this is the better choice, but for me, and I think for most people, I think this is the better choice. Now, if you're gonna nail it down to just these two, man, it's tough to beat the X300 Ultra. I mean, you're talking about 600 lumens out of a light that isn't a great deal bigger than that. But there is, again, every tool has its certain job, and if you don't need a light that is 600 lumens, if you don't need to see 150 yards with a pistol, then the APLC might be the better, more comfortable option. Also, like I said, if you're shooting at a lot and just playing around, I do actually prefer the controls of the APLC over the XC100. I hope this review helped out, and it's turned out to be a lot more of a comparison video than I originally anticipated. But as I said, I've shot quite a few rounds through all of these lights. I have the ability to shoot at night pretty much whenever I want. I live on a farm where I can shoot in my field if I want to. Obviously, you guys have seen that on the channel. And I don't really have any neighbors within a mile-ish, so if I shoot pistols, they're also elderly, so they don't hear them anyway. Nobody really bothers me, so I have a unique perspective on lights where I can pretty much test them and use them whenever I want. But if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters. A large majority of the time, I forget sometimes, but I usually leave a link to a local homeless shelter in Ames, Iowa in the description. If you want to click on that and donate to them, they could really use your help. Check you later.